If you are looking for a singular image that perfectly captures the majesty of the American West, you often land on those towering, deep red sandstone fins of the Garden of the Gods. Perfectly framed by the massive snow-capped presence of Pikes Peak, it's an unforgettable vista.
It truly is. It's one of the most stunning and, instantly recognizable landscapes in the world. It's an instant visual shorthand for the Rockies.
We are taking a deep dive today into this stunning public park in Colorado Springs. What makes this particular location so fascinating isn't just its beauty, but, well, the intense drama hidden within its geology.
And the surprising secrets of its ecology, and crucially, a radical promise of generosity that keeps it absolutely free for everyone.
That's the part that always gets me.
That's right. For you, the listener, our mission is to quickly grasp the three defining characteristics of this 1,341-acre natural landmark. We need to understand its seismic origin story, its unique place as an ecological transition zone, and the powerful restrictive vision of the family whose gift ensures that over a century later, you still don't have to pay to get in.
This park, designated a national natural landmark in 1971, and even named a Great American Public Place in 2011, draws over 2 million visitors a year.
2 million.
But how can a place this stunning, this popular, and this complex remain so accessible? Okay, let's unpack this location.
We have to start with the obvious existential question posed by the park itself. How did those massive 300-foot red rocks get there?
Yeah.
When you see a huge slab of rock standing perfectly vertical, your brain immediately recognizes that something catastrophic happened.
It looks unnatural, almost sculpted by some massive ancient hand. What kind of immense forces are we talking about that could physically change the orientation of rock like that?
We are talking about the laramide orogeny.
The laramide rock.
This was not a minor tremor. This was a period of immense mountain-building force that occurred millions of years ago, creating the entirety of the Rocky Mountain chain and the Pikes Peak Massif.
The scale of that is almost impossible to imagine.
It is. Here is the key visualization for you. Imagine a stack of books, maybe representing 1 billion years of geological history, laid down perfectly flat over millennia. These were sedimentary beds, deep red, pink, and white sandstones, conglomerates, and limestone. They were horizontal, resting peacefully.
The Earth's crust being compressed like giant pancakes.
Exactly. And then the laramide orogeny happened. The deep-seated pressure and uplift caused by the formation of the Pikes Peak Massif was so overwhelming that it acted like a colossal geological crowbar.
A crowbar.
It literally tilted those horizontal sedimentary beds violently, pushing them nearly 90 degrees.
So that flat sedimentary rock was forced up and stood on its side, making those giant fins we see today. It's like standing that stack of books up on its spine.
That's the perfect analogy. They were faulted and tilted vertically, and then once they were exposed, subsequent millennia of erosion, water, wind, and the grinding action of glaciation during the Pleistocene Ice Age carved away the softer material, leaving those dramatic vertical fins.
And that's how we end up with formations like balanced rock, which looks like it should fall over any second, or steamboat rack, and the cluster known as the Three Graces. They are essentially the durable skeleton of an ancient violent event.
They are the eroded remnants, and we should briefly mention the color. That deep, incredible red, pink, and white color is the literal record of past ages.
It's unbelievable.
The red comes from iron oxide, essentially rust, which stains the sandstones. If you know how to read those rocks, you can see the evidence of ancient seas that once covered the area, great sand dune fields, and the pulverized remains of ancestral mountain ranges. That color represents time, violence, and the elements.
That contrast between the deep horizontal past and the violent vertical present is a stunning visual metaphor. Let's fast forward from geological time to human time, because this place has been recognized for its power for a very long time.
It has. This area was not some pristine wilderness waiting for European discovery. Archaeological evidence suggests prehistoric people were visiting the Garden of the Gods as far back as 1330 BC.
Wow.
And numerous American Indian nations have reported a deep connection to this area for centuries.
That includes the Apache, Cheyenne, Comanche, Kiowa, Lakota, Pawnee, Shoshone, and Ute people.
And we must highlight the Utes. Their oral traditions tell of their very creation at the Garden of the Gods. It was a spiritual center for them.
So this was a sacred place.
Deeply. The physical evidence supports this enduring presence. Petroglyphs typical of early Ute culture have been found in the park, and major traditional routes, including the Old Ute Trail, passed right through this location. It was a critical point of connection between the plains and the mountains.
The original European name, which is always a good chuckle, was the slightly less majestic Red Rock Corral.
Red Rock Corral. Not quite the same ring to it.
No. But once settlers began to arrive around the time of the gold rush, they realized such a grand place needed a grander name. And this is where the story gets muddled.
It does. There are at least two widely accepted and completely contradictory origin stories for the name Garden of the Gods.
Okay.
Both are fantastic anecdotes, but they can't both be completely true.
The first story, the most popular one, dates to August 1859. You have a couple of surveyors, Melanchthon S. Beach and Rufus Cable, exploring the site. Beach, looking at the dramatic scenery, suggests something quite pedestrian.
Beach reportedly said it would be a capital place for a beer garden.
A beer garden.
He saw the potential for commerce and relaxation in a frontier way.
And his companion, Rufus Cable, a younger man, supposedly had a much grander vision. He countered Beach's practical suggestion by declaring, and I quote, "Why, it is a fit place for the gods to assemble. We will call it the Garden of the Gods."
You have this wonderful philosophical clash right there between beer and divinity.
It encapsulates the tension of the time. Those who saw the land as merely a resource, and those who saw it as sublime. That's a great story.
It is. But then you have the completely separate tale attributed to the famous writer Helen Hunt Jackson.
Wait, so we have a second, equally popular story, completely disconnected from the surveyors. What's her version?
An 1893 report claims Jackson coined the name. She was supposedly riding past a remote cabin near the formation and noticed a small, beautifully maintained garden there. She asked the names of the two servants tending the garden.
And they replied, Jupiter and Juno.
The classical Roman deities.
Oh, that's good.
Precisely. And upon hearing the names of the king and queen of the Roman gods attached to this humble garden against the backdrop of the massive red rocks, she exclaimed, "Then this must be the Garden of the Gods."
It's fascinating that two such distinct culturally rich anecdotes, one about frontier ambition and the other about classical illusion, both exist to explain the name.
It speaks to the power of the landscape itself. Everyone who saw it felt compelled to attach a mythic or grand name to it, even if they couldn't agree on the details.
Right. And we should briefly note for our film history fans that this imagery was so powerful, the name Garden of the Gods was also co-opted for rock formations at the Iverson Movie Ranch in Chatsworth, California.
Yeah, due to the resemblance, it shows the name traveled west with Hollywood. That's a great point about imagery theft. But let's shift to the scientific treasure trove that the park represents. Here is where it gets really interesting.
It's not just a collection of big rocks. It's an active biological lab. What defines this ecosystem?
It's defined by being a genuine transition zone. Retired biology professor Richard Beedelman called it the most striking contrast between plains and mountains in North America.
A transition zone, okay.
Essentially, you have a meeting point. The dry, short-grass prairie ecosystem of the Great Plains runs right up against the rugged, higher elevation environment of the Pikes Peak foothills.
When two ecosystems collide, you get intense biodiversity because creatures from both areas can survive there.
Exactly. This blending allows the park to sustain flora and fauna from both worlds. You find mule deer and fox, which are typical foothills residents, but also animals like bighorn sheep. The bird life is spectacular, with over 130 species identified.
Wow.
Including specialized birds like white-throated swifts, swallows, and canyon wrens, which thrive on the cliff faces.
And the discoveries made here illustrate just how unique this microclimate is. Let's talk about the dinosaur.
This is a fantastic detail. In 1878, a dinosaur skull was found right there in the park. It spent decades in scientific limbo, not fully identified.
What?
It wasn't until 2006 that paleontologists were able to definitively identify it as a unique species, the Pheophytalia cari.
A unique species. Finding an entirely new dinosaur species right on the edge of a major metropolitan area, Colorado Springs, is remarkable.
It really is. It shows that those tilting red rocks were clearly doing more than just providing a backdrop for surveyors, and the discoveries go down to the microscopic level, reinforcing the uniqueness of the spot.
Not a dinosaur, but a specialized insect.
That's right, a honey ant. In 1879, right after the park was receiving its name, scientists discovered a previously unrecorded subspecies of a honey ant there.
And it was named after the park.
Subsequently named after the park. These ants are known for storing liquid nectar in their abdomens until they swell up like little amber beads.
So the fact that a unique ant subspecies evolved and was discovered right here underscores that this geological singularity created a biological one as well. It's an untamed ecological resource packed with secrets.
Absolutely.
That is truly fascinating. Now let's pivot from the raw power of nature to the power of a human foresight, which brings us to the park's most defining modern feature, the promise of perpetual free access.
This is the centerpiece of the story. The Garden of the Gods is a free public park, and that is entirely due to the visionary generosity of one family.
Tell us about Charles Eliot Perkins. He was a wealthy man in the area, a friend of William Jackson Palmer, who founded Colorado Springs.
Perkins was a railroad magnate, specifically the head of the Burlington Railroad. He began purchasing land in the area in 1879, eventually accumulating 480 acres, covering the most scenic central part of the Red Rock formations.
And he loved the place.
He did. He used it as his private retreat, building trails and roads, but always with the idea that its beauty should be shared.
So he was a wealthy private landowner, but he didn't exploit the land commercially. He treated it like a preservation site, even while he owned it.
Absolutely. He allowed the public onto the property as long as they respected the land, but it was his children who ensured its permanent public status after his death in 1907.
Upon his death, his children wanted to honor his wishes. In 1909, they donated those 480 critical acres to the city of Colorado Springs. And this was not just a typical land donation.
Yeah.
They attached restrictions that are incredibly strict and, even today, profoundly impactful.
This is the crux of the agreement. They stipulated specific, restrictive provisions in the deed. First and foremost, the park shall remain free to the public forever.
Free forever. In an age where the major national parks charge entrance fees, and even state parks often have day use fees, this is an act of civic defiance.
It is, and it's a commitment that has lasted over a century. But the second set of restrictions is arguably just as important for its long-term preservation.
What were those?
They restricted commercial exploitation and behavior. The provisions stated explicitly that no intoxicating liquors shall be manufactured, sold, or dispensed in the park.
So no beer gardens, ironically. Rufus Cable's suggestion back in 1859 was permanently thwarted by the Perkins family deed.
An incredible full-circle moment in history.
That's amazing.
Furthermore, they restricted construction. Only structures necessary to properly care for, protect, and maintain the area as a public park could be built.
So no hotels, no restaurants, no unnecessary commercial development right up against the Red Rocks.
No.
So the lack of commercialization and high-rise development, and the fact that you walk in without a fee, is entirely due to the visionary foresight of the Perkins family. They ensured the environment would be protected from the pressures of popularity and profit.
That's why admission is still free today. Their restrictions against commercialization, far from limiting the park, have preserved its raw and untamed beauty, even as visitor numbers climb past 2 million annually. It's a powerful lesson in intentional preservation.
That legacy is something everyone benefits from. If you are inspired to plan your own deep dive, the park offers 21 miles of trails for various activities, including hiking, biking, and horseback riding.
And we should emphasize accessibility. For visitors who want to see the key formations without extensive hiking, the main path is the 1.5-mile Perkins Central Garden Trail.
Named after the donor family.
Right. And it's paved and fully wheelchair accessible. It runs right through the heart of the most scenic Red Rocks.
But for those looking for a true adventure, those vertical fins created by the laramide orogeny offer prime technical rock climbing opportunities. But because the rock is so old and fragile, the rules are strict.
They absolutely have to be strict to protect the geology. Technical rock climbing is permitted, but you must obtain annual permits. Climbers must be in parties of 2 or more, and they have a complete ban on staining chalks to preserve the natural red and white color of the sandstone.
And there's a critical safety regulation related to the environment.
Yes. Climbing is strictly forbidden when the rocks are wet or icy. Sandstone becomes significantly less stable when saturated, making the ancient geology a safety hazard in inclement weather. Safety and preservation go hand in hand here.
If you want to get the lay of the land and learn more about the history and ecology before you start exploring, the Garden of the Gods Visitor and Nature Center is the ideal gateway.
It is. It's located just outside the park boundary, which follows the Perkins mandate of keeping unnecessary structures away from the rocks themselves. It opened in 1995 and features 30 excellent educational displays covering natural history, geology, and the Native American history we discussed.
And if you want the fast-track version of our geology lesson, because it's such a spectacular story, they run a short movie in the GeoTrekker Theater every 20 minutes that answers the question, how did those red rocks get there?
And remember this crucial point. The nonprofit Garden of the Gods Foundation receives all proceeds from the gift shop and cafe at the center.
Oh, that's great.
This revenue funds the park's maintenance and improvements, directly supporting the free forever mandate left by the Perkins family. Every purchase directly feeds back into the land's upkeep.
For logistics, the park itself is open from 5 a.m., closing seasonally at either 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. The visitor center opens a little later, at 9 a.m., closing seasonally at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.
So what does this all mean when we zoom out? The Garden of the Gods is this unique intersection. It's defined by geological chaos, the laramide orogeny tilting the Earth on its side. It boasts surprising ecological diversity, demonstrated by the discovery of unique life forms like Theophytalia cari, and it is safeguarded by extraordinary human foresight and generosity.
The park is a gift, one that has been successfully preserved through legally binding stipulations that have lasted over a century, defying the pressure of commercialization and overwhelming visitor numbers.
And this park is a testament to the fact that sometimes the most successful path to preservation is through limitation. If we connect this to the bigger picture of public lands, you have to consider how the strict stipulations set by the Perkins family in 1909, specifically the commitment to perpetual free access and the ban on commercial development, have allowed this spectacular spot to handle 2 million visitors a year without losing its essential wildness. What does the success of that intentional, restrictive preservation model imply for the future of other public lands facing similar overwhelming popularity? Perhaps the best way to maintain value is to refuse to monetize it.